Something about them brings goodwill onto them from the rest of the world, which elevates the narcissistic parent or parent's sort of grandiosity. So they want to sort of stay in that child's good graces. The golden child will receive more attention, more compliments, more resource. They might get the bigger bedroom.
Caitlin needed it more.
The bigger pictures of them on the mantle at home. It's pretty clear who they are.
Caitlin has two pictures around the TV. Her grad picture and her modeling picture. I have my grad picture, and then underneath that is the autograph from the drummer of April Wine. That's a true story.
However, in some
that
cases,
is absolutely
it's
true.
Really challenging for the golden child, especially if they have siblings. They may sometimes feel a sense of survivor guilt. They may appreciate the fact that they're somehow protected or getting this adulation. Children love
I just didn't think my sister would be so fucking bitter about it later on in life.
See that their other siblings are not only not getting nearly as much, some of their siblings may be suffering. There also may be a pressure on the golden child.
Caitlin was always suffering, whether she had everything she wanted or not.
Talk to or get to the narcissistic parent. The golden child actually can sometimes have.
I just don't understand why it takes for people to be having a grand mal seizure, for people to realize that maybe just summing me up to being a junkie, even though I don't get to fucking do anything. Like, I didn't want to in the first place. I never wanted to party.
May actually grow up and go on to
and then I sucked it up. And now
it's very interesting.
Now everyone is
many times that
either gone or have not figured out what partying means yet.
Of having to do
partying means that eventually it's not fun anymore, and people start dying.
Even as the other siblings may have faded away, not wanting to deal with this person anymore. So there can sometimes be a long-term burden with this golden child role. At another level, the golden child may also feel like they can't deliver on all the big hopes that were put on them as the so-called crown prince. And because of that, that can often set a golden child up for failure as an adult. The golden child may also not want to continue doing the thing that brought them all that adulation from their parents. So that golden child who got there from being a really great basketball player may go into adulthood and say, yo, I'm not interested in playing basketball anymore. I'm not interested in doing ballet anymore. I'm not interested in doing whatever it was that brought them all the glory. And what they will then see is how conditional the relationship was with that narcissistic parent. As a golden child goes into adulthood, it's also not unusual that their narcissistic parent may actually get competitive. It's one thing when the person was a child and bringing glory to the parent and the family. It was quite another when that narcissistic parent, who's now older, may actually feel that their day in the sun is done, but their golden child, now golden adults, day in the sun is just beginning.
Sell the drugs, I get to do the drugs. I just get to shoot people up with naloxone kits and they're fucking seizing.
For someone in that role.
Grand mal seizure is fucking scary.
It can definitely be a setup not only for potentially becoming a narcissist as an adult, but also for feeling like I don't want this role.
Feel nothing. I don't even care that. Trust me. I know it's scary, but kind of hard for me to feel bad for people. And I kind of
identify with that role.
I've only been saying this like over and over.
This is the poor child that actually fades into the woodwork. It's different than the scapegoat. The scapegoated child really experiences actively people going at them, blaming them. Physically, emotionally, or otherwise abusing them. The scapegoat really sort of takes a hit. The invisible child experiences what we call neglect. They get forgotten in the whole issue. Now, one person might think, well, that's great. You're avoiding the narcissistic parent's wrath. Perhaps. But a child is a bit like a garden. It does need to be cultivated. It needs to be noticed. It needs to be taken care of. It needs to be tended. And so when that child doesn't get that, they literally fade to the background. Remember,
because there was always a fucking problem
for being a parent. Because narcissists are so self-serving, they're so selfish, and they have such a tendency to view other people as conveniences or inconveniences. That when you're useful,
I was always an inconvenience because I was sick.
But when you're not, and many times a child can be sadly an inconvenience. They
Yeah.
want stuff and they need you to do stuff. That's the nature. Of
And
parenting.
especially if you have a kid that is like most of the time sick,
to
like
be a headache. And that child can easily sort of fade into the background for that narcissistic
it
parent.
was like
or
my
for
mom's
narcissistic
PIC,
parents.
like her little partner
The
in crime,
challenge of
like
this is that the invisible
their
child,
secret
like any
keeper, her
will often
rock,
spend time trying
like
to get the notice of their parents. They'll do anything they can. They'll try to be the best possible kid. They'll try to be
and the
more
day
than
that I
enough,
told her
whether
that
it's getting
she
grades
has
or
to
staying
stop
out of
calling me
trouble,
her rock
or
because I
sometimes
can't do
getting
that,
into trouble,
like
just so they can get the
can't do
notice
that and
of
be
their
normal.
parents. But a lot of the
I'm supposed to
invisible
be
child's
fucking
energy
a normal
can go into
teenager, and I
saying,
never
"Hey,
got to
here
be
I
a normal
am, look at
teenager.
me." A child isn't
That's
sophisticated
fine.
enough
It's
to
not
say,
like
"Wow, I'm about
fucking
to
like,
adopt
oh,
a
now that
bully
I'm
this parent, and
fucking of
taking
an
notice of
age
me,
that
I
I'm
can
supposed
finally do my
to
own thing
not
and
be
left
fucking
alone."
around.
The child
Like
needs to be noticed. He or she
I don't want a
needs to be
party. It's
wanted.
fine.
He or
Like
she
I never
needs to
did.
be
I never
seen
did.
and known, and that's what a child needs. So the invisible
want to
child
be
gets
included.
lost in that shuffle. As adults,
Always
this is a
fucking
really
not
difficult
included because I was
dynamic
always at
because
home
spending
sick.
a whole childhood being invisible often means that in adulthood, all you want is
Be
to
left
be seen.
alone. All I
So
want
that
is to be
can
left
result in
alone.
things like attention seeking, chronically feeling not good enough in relationships, choosing situations where they become rendered invisible again, being resentful about invisibility, and again, engaging in more attention seeking behavior. But in the end, it's not a great setup for adult
Nope.
because there was never the sense of I'm more than enough, I'm valuable enough to be noticed. It's an important way to
I'm
regulate
fucking not,
ourselves.
obviously.
So go
Like
into adulthood knowing that they
very
are
replaceable.
good, whole, noticeable people. In one family, you could see all three of these
Takes 2
children.
fucking months for
Scapegoat,
anybody to come check
invisible
on me.
child,
Make sure
and the
I'm still
golden
alive, and it
child.
wasn't
Enough
even
kids
for
to
me. It
count,
was for
everyone's gonna
fucking
have a
Cameron's
role.
key.
Now, obviously, if you have a family where there's an only child, the only child could be any one of those three things. And those of you watching,
Like,
I'd love to hear you think, even if you put just in the comments, say, "Yep, I was a scapegoat. Yep, I was the golden
oh,
child."
you guys literally would have rather me be like
in your family
with
system,
somebody
be
who
aware,
is
"Yeah, I was a golden child. My sister was
admittingly
really a
saying that they're
scapegoat."
mentally
Because
abusive
if you
to
look
me.
at
Like,
that, you'll see
even
how
I
those
was
different kinds of
surprised
histories
when I
affected
said,
you
like, I
as
thought he was gonna
adults.
fucking freak out.
There's some
But I
goodness
was
to
like,
take from this, though,
you're
because I don't
verbally
think all
and
is
mentally
lost.
abusive.
The
And he was
sad
like, yeah, I know.
legacy of these
I was like,
roles
oh,
people may
I
find themselves
kind of
in
was expecting you to
adult
deny that.
relationships is that you think, well, maybe we're forever going to be estranged. My poor scapegoat sibling
At
and
least
I,
fucking he admitted it and went
I
to
was the golden
therapy.
child,
Like,
she was the scapegoat. How do we bridge that? You bridge that by making connections independent of your narcissistic parent. You disempower the narcissistic parent by cultivating a relationship with that sibling completely separate from them. Remember, it was the narcissistic parents who handed you those roles. And if you can get out of that light and get out of their purview, you
I've
and
been
your
trying
siblings
for only
can
20
reinvent
years.
yourselves as whole people, not as scapegoats or golden children or invisible, but as whole people.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks
I'm
again for
literally
tuning
like
in.
fucking about to
Thanks
be
to
headed back to
all of
Shadagi. It's like
who've
my
been ordering
fucking
the book. I'm
nightmare.
glad to see it's getting out there and hope that plus these videos
I just
clarifies a lot
can't
of these
believe
issues.
fucking
As always,
poor
please hit the
David.
bell, please
Like,
subscribe. We've got videos coming out twice a week. Thanks again.
they ruined him. That's so sad. I was so fucking. It was really nice to see like a guy who was like, yeah, no, my girlfriend just had a kid, and I really want to do the right thing and just try to be like a good parent. And where I was, like, it wasn't like a very positive like environment, and I want my kid around that, and I just want to get a job. Like,
in my first year of private practice, which is like
I don't
8 or
like
9
this guy. I
years ago
can't handle
now.
him. Like, he's good, but he's just so dweeby. I just feel so bad for David. I really thought he was like gonna actually like. I have a feeling that he's gonna do good again. I feel so bad for him that somebody who genuinely wants to do the right thing and do right by their fucking kid, a parent that actually wants to parent and be a good parent, like, God forbid. And he ends up he's on the street doing smack, with no job, and obviously doesn't see his kid anymore. Congratulations, Lasheen. Good job. Like, it's like, I don't know. Shadagi and Lasheen will do that to you. They will, any kind of progress you made that is positive, yeah, that'll fuck it up, definitely. This place is terrible. It doesn't matter how hard you fucking try, it really doesn't. You can try and try and try and try. It doesn't matter. It'll always suck you back into this fucking hole.
Guns, abortion, American politics is serious, not some kind of stupid game. That's why you don't get the Democrat Party funding the advertisements of Republican candidates. Oh!
The sun was 2 when I met.
Hello there, you 5.7 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on this voyage towards truth with all of its complexity, all of its nuance, and a tirade of disinformation, misinformation, disinformation, disinformation.
Chris information! Information about Chris!
Trying to prevent us from...
He's a really nice guy.
Well, we won't stand for it, will we? Of course we bloody well won't. If you ain't turned on the notification bell yet, turn on the notification bell now. We make videos every single day, and it's vitally important that you watch every last one of them in case the algorithm's like some sly, slippery, binary serpent trying to direct you away from truth and channel you off into the streams of the main is who I'm talking about, those guys. Hey, listen, we've got some lovely stories for you today. You're going to absolutely love this. Would you believe that in this current climate, where the political landscape is so fraught, where there's so much tension, where there's so much argument, sincerity, sturm and drang, that the Democrat Party are literally funding Republican Party candidate advertisements in order to sort of bias the outcome of elections? If politics is anything at all, it must be sincere. Look at the sincere stances taken at the podium, the sincere advertisements and campaigns, the tears. Oh, it's for the children, it's for the children. Actually, remember how you and me think it's like some sort of game and they're on the sly and they're just taking the donor money and they don't care and don't know who you vote for. The system will ultimately maintain its momentum. You'll never be able to intervene in situations where the interests of the powerful would be affected. Well, that's basically true. Because look, here's more evidence of just absolutely stupid skullduggery. As the midterm primary season rolls along, voters may have noticed the strange phenomenon of political advertising. Democrats paying for ads supporting Republican candidates. Shouldn't be happening, should it? Like, imagine if you're donating to the Democrat Party, you believe in them, you believe in their legislation around identity politics or their regulations around climate change or just deep-held principles around equality. I don't know what the party stands for anymore. I've stopped following it in that kind of way. Imagine, though, that you believed in that stuff. You weren't awakened from that illusion. You were donating money to them. And you found, what'd you do with that money I give you? Oh, this Republican candidate? Yeah, I hate him. Well, see this advert? Oh, I hate it. You fucking paid for it, mate.
Yeah.
In multiple states, including Colorado and Illinois, Democrats have been attempting to boost far-right Republicans under the assumption they would be easier to beat in a general election. So, on one hand, they tell you that Republicans are far-right and you have to watch out for this rise of the far-right. Then they cherry-pick far-right candidates and emphasise and amplify their arguments. So just so you know, in case you are like a libertarian, right-wing type person, and, you know, all respect to you if you are, you're entitled to be whoever you want. I welcome you with my heart open. I'm not into the Republican Party. I'm not into far-right politics. I believe in you as an individual. I believe in communities. I believe in localism. I believe in checking corporate power, breaking down state power, and enabling ordinary people from all backgrounds to run their own communities according to their creeds, their identities, their religions, however they want to run their communities. That's where I stand on this thing. But one of the great tropes of contemporary politics is that the Republican Party is getting more right-wing, and perhaps it is, I don't know, or more racist, I don't know, I'm not sure. But one thing we can now tell you is that the Democrat Party are paying for adverts for far-right Republicans in order to bias the perception of the Republican Party and in order to win elections. And you know why they've got to do stuff like that, don't you? Because they can't say, well, if we get in, what we're going to do is we're going to make your life better by controlling corporate interests, by bringing down drug prices, by stopping Congress people owning stocks and shares in companies that they regulate. We'll stop lobbying. We'll look into dirty money in politics. They don't do any of that. So what we'll do instead is we'll create some sort of daft, lunatic Republican candidate, some straw man or woman to stand against, and then hopefully we'll beat them. In 2012, Democrat Claire McCaskill's re-election campaign spent $1.7 million on an advertising blitz during the GOP primary to highlight the conservative credentials of candidate Todd Akin. It was more money than Akin's campaign has spent for the entire primary. The Democrats spent more money advertising a Republican candidate than that candidate did themselves. If you want to see an example of how these parties are enmeshed and ultimately in support of the same self-sustaining systems, well then look at this example where Claire McCaskill, a Democrat candidate's campaign money, was spent on a Republican candidate. You can't get a more literal example than that. There were 3 viable candidates, and Todd Akin was kind of the weirdest one, McCaskill said. I knew he might say some weird things if he were nominated, and he had less money, so we took a poll and figured out what Republican voters would really like about him. That's not what you should be spending your time doing, should you? She should be going, right, we've got to make things better for vulnerable people, we've got to make sure small businesses thrive, lower class people, middle class people, ordinary Americans from all backgrounds should be having opportunities to pursue the principles enshrined in our Constitution. Yeah, we could do all that. This Akin, though, he's a weird motherfucker. Don't you think we could somehow create a Coca-Cola Rosette type campaign around this goofy schmo that will distract people from reality? Yeah, well, wouldn't that be immoral? Yes, it would, and also effective. McCaskill put her name on the ads as it's required for political advertising, but casual viewers may not have realised they were paid for by a Democrat. I wouldn't have realised that. I thought you'd have better things to do with your campaign money than highlight a potential opponent. I also think that the entire ideology of politics is exposed by this story. It shows you that it is a game about pursuing power. But think about this, it doesn't even make sense to try and contemplate. I just want to help ordinary people. I just want to help them live better lives. That's why I want to become a politician. Therefore, this nutcase Todd Akin, let's highlight him using Democrat campaign funding. Highlight him to a position of prominence, then we can beat him. So much sort of strategy and skullduggery and downright stupidness. That couldn't exist in a cohesive and legitimate system, could it? You'd go, well, don't do that. Can you not think of, I don't know, Abraham Lincoln or George Washington or Thomas Jefferson? 40 years ago, we created a focused campaign to distract people from the fact that we're inept and don't have any original ideas. For most of the primary season, Akin had been behind in the polls, but he surged in the last 2 weeks of the campaign as McCaskill's ads aired across Missouri. He ended up winning the primary, then losing handily to McCaskill in the general election. As a strategic thing, it's sort of quite clever, isn't it? Why don't we fund this nitwit? It's also quite a good film, actually, isn't it? It's quite a good film idea. Don't nick it. This is my idea. I'm keeping this. And then that guy actually wins. Like, I'm going to become a big shot in Washington, and then he sort of becomes president. Has that already happened? Fast forward a decade, and some Democrats are hoping to replicate that strategy by boosting GOP candidates who say that Donald Trump won the 2020 presidential election. I know some of you guys think that as well, don't you, you saucy little sods? In Pennsylvania, Democratic gubernatorial nominee Josh Shapiro spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on TV ads attacking GOP primary candidate Doug Mastriano. While the ads were negative, they deliberately gave a large platform to issues that resonate with many conservative voters, including skepticism about the legitimacy of the 2020 election, a kind of reverse psychology that Mastriano himself welcomed. I'm going to have to send him a thank you card, Mastriano later told a local news outlet after seeing the ads. Mastriano went on to win the Republican nomination for governor in May. Sending a thank you card, that's the least corrupt thing that's happening in all this. That's just common courtesy. It's funded your entire campaign. In California, a political action committee affiliated with the Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi paid for ads explicitly promoting conservative GOP candidate Chris Mattis over his more moderate competitor in the state's 22nd congressional district. I think that's actually outrageous. There's no sort of rules. It's a completely lawless space. The explicit agenda of politics has become so obscured that you can't actually sort of find it anywhere within the framework, can you? So this is that thing where babies are going to get looked after, where old people have dignity, and where business people can run a business, where communities are looked after. How can you see that when it's like people go, oh, I'm going to send you a thank you card, and people funding people because they think they look like crackpots? It's crazy. And no wonder people doubt the legitimacy of the 2020 election, because they know that corruption is rife. They know that their vote is sort of meaningless, and whether they're right or not about the kind of machinations of electoral fraud, it's only right about the spirit of the problem. It's corrupt. In recent weeks, a progressive super PAC in Colorado began running ads highlighting the conservatism of State Representative Ron Hanks, a Tom Hanks ripoff. Hi, I'm Ron Hanks, and this is my movie, Large. Life is like a box of candies. That's what my old mama used to say anyhow. Did you see my movie, Cast Offshore, where I was friends with a basketball called Reebok? It was a great show. Ron Hanks, who has questioned the legitimacy of 2020 election. His more moderate opponent, Joe O'Dea, released a statement accusing the far-left dark money groups of propping up Hanks before the election. But meddling in Republican primaries could be risky for Democrats. Polls show that a clear majority of Republicans believe Joe Biden was illegitimately elected in...
What started the cultural fixation on gender? Oh, man. A bunch of parents who didn't apparently know how to talk to their kids about sex, maybe? I don't know. I think there's like a crazy amount of confusion as to what is appropriate to converse with your child about and what is inappropriate. Like, some parents absolutely take it way too far, and like, I get being open-minded and all that, but your private parts are private. It's not for everybody, and it's not because I'm a prude, and it's not because I'm frigid. It's something that is like, it should mean something. It's a part of you that is not only is susceptible to diseases and stuff like that. Like, you should be aware of those things too, but like, it's not something that's icky. It's not something that is for everyone either, though. Like, I don't understand why this is so complicated. Why is this so hard? Like, if you had a kid, that means you guys obviously had to bang. So why is it so hard for parents to talk to their kid about, like, that's why you have so many people that are confused about their gender, and I don't know, like, I was always taught to never be ashamed of my body. Like, I'm not ashamed of my body, and it doesn't mean I have to go whoring myself out to every single person who like is nice to me. Like, and same with like the non-verbal cues. I don't know. I had a lot of guy friends growing up. I remember one of my best friends, Shane, he started dating this younger girl, Tabitha. Oh my god. And then like years later, Tabitha ends up at one of my boyfriends, his older brother, 10 years older than him. And Tabitha was like 2 years younger than me. Showing like a shirt with a lollipop on it. I'm like, you look like a child. Like, I actually look like you're a child. And Wesley is like way, way, way too old to be dating someone who's in their teens. Like, he's like at least 30 something. Anyway, he brought her home for family dinner. And I just was like, oh my god, yo, I have to sit at dinner and eat dinner with Tabitha. Anyway, she had dated Shane, they had banged, and then afterwards she went around telling people that she wasn't sure she really wanted to at the time. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, Shane is somebody who asks way too many times if it's cool, if like you're still down. And I was like, can you just stop asking, and I will let you know. You will know if I am no longer down. You will definitely know. You know, as stupid of a comment as it is, I don't know. Either way, you can't just go around fucking saying that you weren't sure if you wanted to or not when you, as an adult, made a decision. You want to get involved with somebody sexually, like, that is your decision. You can't just go around fucking saying shit like, oh, I wasn't sure if I wanted to. Like, that is insinuating that Shane, some way, shape, or form forced you in or pushed you to do it. And I know Shane in that way, and he's the one of those guys that asks too many times. I'm like, kind of killing the moment, but whatever. Better that he asks than not asks. And I thought I was gonna have to go fucking kick her ass. That's amazing, really. The guy's got an 8-ball on the side of his car. That's fucking. Shit. Yep. This is just good. This is great.
So what I was in.
What's a black guy's named David that I just like fucking my heart goes out to?
I think it was around about mid 2019 that I noticed that the plant-based messaging was getting louder and louder. It was ubiquitous, and many of the arguments that were being used, many of the facts that were being used to support that, just simply
There used to be a guy
didn't correspond with facts.
I used to let him cheat off me in English.
You may remember there was a movie.
Everyone called him Bubba.
Changers, and that really was a tipping point for me because a lot of young people, particularly
like, and it was a nickname,
they were going to give
but obviously for not.
I could see a health catastrophe in the making, and I thought, right, we have to start putting the alternative point of view and get.
They thought it was funny to get him fucking high and shit.
So is this something that the people who are perpetrating
guy was kind of
is it something that they genuinely believe? Or do you think
I guess, but
that what they're doing is perpetrating a con?
We kind of took him into our friends because that's kind of what my whole shindig is apparently. Seeing people getting mistreated and then being like, "Yo, you don't have to fucking take that shit."
However they want, and I really do believe that.
If you want to hang out with somebody who's not going to treat you like fucking
that small group of people is amplified.
A shit friend, like
corporate
make fun of you, like
around from the big food industry,
people who come hang out with me.
By the media who love the headlines that are associated with this, by some global non-profit organizations. So it's that's amplifying this and making it seem like an inarguable argument, really.
I remember, and we've been talking about Paul McCartney today. He's 80 today, and
no.
Well, at the time it was vegetarianism, but then they got to talking about this sort of carbon dioxide emissions.
Of course, Paul McCartney.
How many years back seemed to be the start? It was
fucking garbage, fucking rich bitch.
Of the people, and we're destroying the environment. But when you look at it, 5% of emissions is from cows, and then you look at sort of energy in cars, and you say it's over 50%. So. Why do you think we sort of took a disliking to the cows?
Well, do you know, I think it's because both at a national level and at the individual level,
because Paul McCartney said it. He's a doctor.
A person can give up eating meat if they're doing something very constructive, and what they don't realize is that the rest of their lifestyle is generating so much more in terms of emissions. So, for instance, you could eat a 4-ounce steak, British steak, 3 times a week for a year, and that would generate 1/6 of the carbon emissions of a single transatlantic flight. This is why the Professor Miles Allen has stated very publicly, and he's a UK scientist who served on the IPCC's committee for 1.5 degrees. He has said that eliminating methane from cattle will have a very insignificant impact on global warming.
I believe it.
If we don't sort out the fossil fuel generated warming elements, pretty much everything else is irrelevant.
And the other thing, because it did then talk about, it was about health for you and it was about the environment, environmental impacts. And then I see now everybody, and the biggest selling, I think, non-alcoholic drink is plant-based milks. And so you've got almonds there. But when you look at how much water is needed to grow a single almond. And
Yes,
sort of
thank
almond
you,
milk,
lady.
I wonder what is the impact on the planet? for
It
that?
takes like
In areas that
fucking
doesn't
like
have much
100
water.
gallons
That's
or
right.
something
And-
like
and
that just
these
per
nuts and almonds are
almond.
not the only products that are being held up for making false claims about their environmental benefits. So
Yep.
we've seen just this week a very large retailer in this country has been slapped on the wrist by the Advertising Standards Authority because they're making false claims about the benefit of their plant-based foods for the environment.
Yep.
That's happening in America.
It's like your
happened
air
recently with,
fryers, like
a big
stop
roundabout
using
milk,
air fryers. That's
in January
not
was also
good.
held up by the Advertising Standards
You
Authority. I
can
believe
taste
that
it, so
the
it's not
message
fucking right. And you
is
guys
starting
like
to
are
be
cooking
questioned.
chicken and stuff
the
with
more
air
dairy we can
fryers. Are
bring
you
to the table,
stupid?
the better.
Haven't sort of vegans always said though that you can't just have a vegan diet, but you can take supplements in order to
No.
replicate
No, you cannot.
the benefits that you get from eating meat. Is there any? Is there
They
any,
do say that, but
is
there's
there
an
anything in that?
awful lot of supplements are required. So
Yes.
one of the things I do in detail in my book is a chapter on every nutrient that is missing in a plants only diet. One without any animal source foods. And
Yep.
there's a huge range. You've got vitamin A, you've got B12, you've got all the B vitamins really.
And yes, it's
You've got
possible.
DHA,
Yes,
which
it is
essential
possible.
for
I
brain
don't
functioning. You
dispute
could
this
go
fact.
on and on. You could try to take a supplement for all of that.
But we are
supplements don't
literally
work outside
bred
of
as
food nutrition
carnivores.
exactly the same way. It's really not a good strategy.
I just wonder about how many of these messages we should believe. I mean, I used to work for Asda before, and there was always a big thing still going. Now it's still a massive thing, isn't it? 5 a day on fruit and veg. Now I'm pretty sure, and I was at Asda when all of this 5 a day stuff was started out, and I'm pretty sure that
I
there's
have to
never been any
apologize to that
official
kid.
advice to have.
Kind of
5 a
bitched
day.
out
I'm
him
pretty
and his
sure
friend.
It was made up by someone. I'm not sure who.
It's made up by somebody who made it as a marketing slogan. And it doesn't mean that vegetables are great.
No.
I love vegetables, by the way, and we should eat as many as we can, but there is no scientific basis to the 5 a day.
No, because there's never been any official advice. So I just want to make you wonder, doesn't it? How many of these sort of messages
That
that
we're living by
Yeah.
when we up in some sort of PR room. The other thing is, I like to think that I'm a healthy eater, and I am a flexitarian, so I have a bit of everything. I don't do dairy, though I became intolerant. But when I
Really?
looked at some of these vegan packaged foods, because I could quite easily that, I was horrified of what all the chemicals that were in it.
You
So
should
I
be
don't
horrified
think-
of what the chemicals that
And
you
it's
are
not what
breathing
you're
on a
promoting.
daily.
Look for healthy.
Look for real food, basically.
Look for real
Real food.
Okay.
A wide variety of real food.
You know what? Go sit on the Mercier Bridge in traffic
And
for
that's
2
like
hours
the
and you'll
insurance policy for
understand
health. You
where
almost
the
can't
fuck
go
I'm
wrong
coming
with this,
from.
especially for children. If you can just
You
get them to
see
eat
the
that wide
amount
variety
of
real food
smoke
instead of the packaged.
Pluming out of those factories.
They have a bit of everything, So
Yet
it's all
my
about having
single-use
a
plastics are
balance-
what's killing the
a balance-
planet.
A balanced diet. So
And that's gone out of fashion.
it has, hasn't it?
What was it? A little bit of what you fancy.
It's all
just
what
to
it's
do
about.
that.
Everything's a
Something
big
like
fucking
that.
fat, like everything's a big social contest.
Jane Buxton, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We really appreciate it. I think I might go and celebrate with a chicken madras tonight.
Why we wanted you in, as I was reading about you, because it was about dispelling some of those myths about how things become faddish. We all then read
Everything's
we all
a fucking
consume it, we all
fad.
think that's what we're going to do. So it was just to bring
No
a bit
one
of
will
balance
use their
into
fucking
this
brain.
debate. I thought, oh, this one's got a
Everyone
lot
would
to say
rather
about it.
follow the
Thank you
herd.
very much. Great.
It was crazy when doctors even started doing it. Well, other doctors were saying it. We thought they knew what they were talking about. Aren't you supposed to know what you're talking about? Like,
Hi everyone, it's Dr. Romani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel. If you're new to this community, please subscribe. We talk about narcissism here. Narcissistic people, narcissistic relationships, all in the service of trying to help you understand all of this more. Today we're going to take on how narcissistic people often punish you once you decide to try to become more authentic, or they punish you for trying to heal. Speaking of healing, this is a healing focused video. You can only do so much of that healing focused work on YouTube. If you want to do a deeper dive into healing, please consider my healing program. To check out the link in the video notes, and please come listen to my new podcast. Working really hard on that, and it's very different than what I do on YouTube. So I'd love if you did just go to that again. Go to
Can't
the video
believe
notes,
fucking
just
Dave's on the
consider
fucking
it
street
there,
doing
and
fucking smack, man.
But then now let's really talk about, especially around the healing. How do narcissistic people punish you?
You know,
For
it's
healing.
just like I'm
I'm trying
really,
to
really,
become
really
more
just
authentic
about
self.
done.
It really sucks, right? I mean, healing from these relationships is one of the hardest things you can do, and they're going to punish you for it.
Like, I can't
you're
even
getting
explain
stronger,
how many
you're healing,
people
and
that
you're
I
being
know
more
that are
honest
genuinely
with what you
really,
need
really good
and
are
who you
people
are.
and want to do right by their kids, and they want to get help, and they do go
Don't
get
think that
help,
they're gonna
and
let
then they
you
get
away that
sucked
easily.
back into
Just
the same
grow
shit.
into your authentic self. One day, and it's not actually one day, it's usually over a period of months, years, even decades, you slowly work up your resolve. It may be decades after childhood or years
Like
after a
David just
relationship
partly
ends.
moved here to get
But
away
you
from this bad
commit to
situation,
healing
just
and
to be a
all
better
that
parent.
healing entails, including
Now he's on the street
pursuing
doing
your own
fucking
goals
smack.
and not asking for their approval, succeeding on your own terms, and becoming your own person.
So his
I'm
kid
gonna
was
tell you
2
this, that narcissistic
they
person or
moved.
people are thinking,
That was like
how dare you?
3 years ago. Kid
Did you
must be
really,
about
though?
5.
Honestly, this is Dr. Romani to you. Did you really think that they
I
were
really
going to
hope
sit there
John
and they were
Jr.
going to be okay that you could go out there and be your own person?
I heard Junior got off heroin
Once a
finally.
narcissistic person starts dominating you, and
The last time I
gets a
talked to him,
supply
he was
from
like,
you, or has
"Oh, my
always
girlfriend,
dominated
like
you,
I had a
as in
slip
the
and
case of a
she
parent,
freaked out and she said that I
they
couldn't
do
see my
always
kid, so
anticipate
fuck
that
it."
your
I was like,
existence is primarily
Junior, I'm
to
just
deliver
like
them
my heart
supply.
bleeds for that guy.
So
Like,
let's sort of play this out, right? Over time, you finally start really getting to radical
Fucking
acceptance. And
Carol called me
recognizing
once
that
saying
this is not going to
Junior
change. You work
got beaten the
toward
crap out of
healing.
by his fucking
Whether you stay or go, and this is a lot
by his
harder
dad
if
and
you
his
stay,
uncle.
but it can be done. You
So I
slowly
went
start to
to
become
the
you, whatever that
skating
looks
rink
like.
and went and picked him up
Now,
and
their
brought him back to my
reactions
place.
will obviously be much
Then his
more pronounced
mother
if you
started
end the
cruising around my
relationship,
house
or
and something about the
really
mafia.
significantly sort of
Like,
change the game with much less
I had no
contact.
idea what
When
was
you do
going
that,
on. I just knew that there were cars that
they
were now
punish you.
cruising in front of my house, and her
What does this look like?
saying that
Number one,
she's gonna come
money.
fucking kill me or
When a
whatever.
narcissistic person senses
Like, I don't know what's
judgment,
happening.
going
I
away,
just
going
know that
authentic,
I
and
was told
punish you
Junior
for
got
it.
beaten up.
Money
Like, they
is
broke a
major
chair over his
issue in
back.
narcissistic relationships. Narcissistic parents often use it to
And
control
the kid was all fucking
children, or
bloodied up and
shame
shit.
children, or even relying on adult children to give them something. Whatever it is, it gets messy.
And then
Money is
Carol
power.
fucking
Narcissistic
sent
folks care
her
about power. So money
brothers and
becomes a tool
cousins
of
who were
control,
the Irish
vindictiveness,
mafia
and
to come get us, and
if these are parents, they may
they
do things
filled
like
up
cut you out of
3
bills
cars
and
with like
trusts,
2 force of
or the
beer and
favorite
brought us back to
child who still
Andrews, where
remains
we were
in
being,
psychological bondage
I guess,
to,
protected
right?
by the
That's all
Irish
the good
mafia
news,
or
and
some
you're out in
shit.
the cold. And it can
I
happen
don't know. I had
quite
no
rough.
idea.
You were getting something from them, and
I
boom,
just
they'll
knew
take
that
it away.
Junior got fucking beat up by his dad
In a divorce, this will look like fighting to the bitter end in the courtroom,
and needed somewhere
with
to
the
go.
lawyers ending up getting more than anyone else.
And
It
then
may mean
years
that
later, I heard
narcissistic
that
person
he
fighting for inconsequential
was
nonsense
on the street
and
on
hauling you
heroin.
back into court regularly to bleed you dry and to punish you for actually going out there and becoming
Last I
your
heard,
own
he was
person.
like clean for I
They
think
will
like 3
fight
months or
you
something.
over the price of a shoelace. Number two,
I just
they
hope he
may
sticks
just
with it.
withhold their love and their
I hope he
regard, or
really
just
sticks with
face
it.
you down with passive aggression and cold indifference.
Not fair to do that. Even if you're not
Sometimes
involved
it
in your
is
kid's
as
life, but you're a
simple
fucking junkie.
As that cold indifference, right? It's not as though these
Like, it's better
relationships
if you're
were
a junkie that you're
hug
not
fest to
involved in your
begin
kid's
with.
life, but even
But
still,
now,
if you're not,
as
like,
you decide to grow
kid always
out,
wonders
become
why
a person, it
they
becomes
weren't enough
absolute
for
coldness.
you to quit.
Sort of think Logan Roy on Succession and his capacity to talk to everyone else in the room and ice his own child out of a given conversation. That kind of play, right? They
I did not
withhold
have,
love, and if it
because
is
my
a
mother did
parent,
not
they
need
use
rehab.
this
She did
withholding
not
tool
need
repeatedly
anything.
since
She
your
just
childhood.
quit.
So every time you attempted to individuate as a
And
child or
she
an
was
adolescent,
honest with
that
us,
parent would punish you. They would distance
or at least
themselves.
me, saying
They were
that she
doing it
just
to punish you. And it works with young children who
spent
merely
her
want
whole life
nothing
taking care
more
of her
than to be
parents
cherished
and
by
taking
a
care of
parent.
her kids
So the
and her
child kind
husband
of
in the
gives up on
house. And when
individuation
all
and
that was
their
gone,
needs, and they remain ensconced
she just
in the
felt like
parents'
not
sort of toxic
important.
experience of reality. So at least if you're along with them, the parent doesn't
Felt like, what about me?
punish you with passive aggressive stonewalling kind of BS. Now that can happen in other relationships too. You finally hold your ground in an intimate relationship, and you're met with the passive aggressive silent treatment, which really makes life a tense nightmare.
Yep.
The silent treatment is always a standoff, and the narcissistic person is far better made for it than you. So many times the other person breaks, the healthier person breaks, and that may sometimes look like you not doing what you needed or wanted for yourself and giving
No, it looks like I'm
to what the narcissistic
full on
person
batshit
wants.
crazy.
For narcissistic folks, love is a transaction and it's turned on and off to get what they need. If you need is not aligned with what they need, then no love for you.
Nope.
Number 3 thing
No
they'll do
love
if you're
for
growing
me.
out of them is a smear
That's
campaign.
true.
This is the leveling up from the cold indifference, and this is a more active play where they will punish you for your autonomy and your self-care by talking smack about you to anyone who will listen.
Yep.
And since you aren't
No,
the
right in front of
only
me.
one that the narcissistic
Brought
person
some
is
guy
controlling,
over literally to
these
talk
other
shit about
people
me.
who are under the sway
while I was
of the
standing there.
narcissistic person's charisma, or
Like,
simply
really,
live in fear
honestly,
of
it's
them,
good.
maybe a receptive audience. If it's within a family system, they may commandeer your other parent, your siblings, your extended family. There is too much fear people have about going against the narcissist.
Nope.
The fact that you're
Not
even
fucking scared of
trying
shit.
to channel your authentic self and split away from it speaks volumes about your courage. And these
But
other
you know what is
people
scary?
falling for the smear campaign actually puts them
Waiting
in the
for a
narcissistic
seizure to
person's
be
good
over.
graces, which
That's
can feel
scary.
safe for them at a primal level. It can be devastating to see.
Hope they had a
members who
good
you thought
weekend
had
night
your back
though.
Not have your back.
Hope they had a lot of fun
When the
partying.
army of flying monkeys comes at you, the punishment quickly turns into grief for you. When you recognize that the bargain is either you have to give up on yourself and forever be a pawn in the narcissistic person's life, or break free and potentially lose everyone. These feel like impossible choices. If this is a relationship situation, and perhaps you finally want out of the relationship, or even if you stay in it, but you're finding more of your voice. A narcissistic co-parent, for example, may speak badly about you to your children. It may be subtle, or it may be awful. But I can tell you this, it's confusing as hell for your children. If the children are older, puberty and into adolescence, they may actually be quite vulnerable to this dialogue. And you might find yourself on the receiving side of not only the narcissistic partner or co-parent's antagonism, but the diffidence and the coldness of your children, especially if your narcissistic co-parent is speaking badly about you to them, but you are holding your tongue and not speaking badly about the other parent. The children are getting a one-sided story. And then if that narcissistic co-parent decides to sweeten the pot with money, cars, or other goodies, it's a tough battle. It really comes down to how manipulable your children are. The more ego injured the narcissist is as a relationship, as you distance from a relationship, the more they will do this. And it's a continuum ranging from passive aggressive mockery, like, oh, hey, look, your mom thinks she's big shot now. She's tired of taking care of you, so she's moving on to better stuff. It's painful enough. But it can be all the way to spreading frank and slanderous lies to your children and others. To say that this is devastating when it happens is understating it. This behavior can result in permanent estrangement, severe psychological issues for the child, bottomless grief for you as a parent, and the catch-22 of never being able to win. Because frankly, unless you forever stay as the narcissistic person's psychological prisoner with them calling the shots, this remains out there as a possible threat that they'll tell the kids bad things about you as soon as you actually attempt to start taking back yourself, being your own person. Number 4 thing that happens is that they continue to send you awful text messages, emails, and DMs. And I have to say, and this probably could be its own video, but what the hell is it with antagonistic and narcissistic people and their mean emails and messages? I certainly get them, and because of what I do, and it dawns on me that this person had to take time out of their day to spew this poison at me, someone they don't know. Time out of their day.
There's
With
nothing
little
better
regard for how inappropriate it is, how entitled, and how toxic. And I know I'm not the only person who would be getting this kind of email from them. They don't even know.
I'm like,
So
where do
they
you get
must be doing it to
time? Where do you
everyone
get
in their
time in your
lives.
day to just
So
like
right
sit
there, I'm
around?
talking about strangers, but this is so much worse if this is actually someone in your life. If this is a narcissistic person who was in your life and you are trying to, again, exert yourself, be your own person, not live under their psychological thumb any longer, well, they're not going to like that. So each time you set a boundary, whether big or small, you can expect a litany of insane and dysregulated texts and emails. As long as a narcissistic person is being vindictive and angry, they do not run out of steam. They just keep writing and writing and writing. Word salad, words designed to cut you to the quick, critical words, kind of just dysregulated words, and they feel entitled to keep filling your inbox with this BS. It is exhausting, especially if your only crime was living your life and not doing everything the way that it works for them. But I gotta tell you, opening up that inbox
What
or
did you bark
looking at the
for?
notification on your phone and seeing their name is literally enough to leave you feeling sick. They do tend to lose steam with time, but sometimes I do hear cases of people who keep it going for decades. That's more rare, but it absolutely can go on for years. The longer you go no contact, the more likely this will end because it's simply unrewarding for them, though some of them may escalate to creepier and more concerning stalking behaviors. And let's say for some reason your name comes up in their lives, unbeknownst to you, maybe even years down the road. Once again, they feel entitled to fill your inbox with their poison. Now, blocking and spam filters can all be useful, but they're not always viable. For example, if this is a co-parent or someone else where communication may still be required. This is where having the courts mandate the use of an app like Talking Parents can help. And I also know that some people want those messages to come in case they need them to get more legal protections. And speaking of which, number 5 is the legal issues that come up. So in the most extreme cases, when you are finally individuating, the narcissist may actually come after you legally. Now, I gotta tell you, I think most lawyers are in business because of narcissists. Narcissists are more likely to commit crimes, they're more likely to litigate. So I'm not so sure the legal profession wants this
Where do
fixed,
you
right?
even get this
But
orange juice?
narcissistic people love hiring
Apple
attorneys
juice,
to do
whatever.
their bidding, to write angry letters, to tell you owe them money, or that you defamed them, or that their dream is something you mind read their dream in the middle of the night, and now it's their dream is their intellectual property, like that kind of stuff. If you spend enough money on lawyers, they can bury people in paper and rage. It's one more example of how messed up our systems are. They're very narcissist rewarding. But that said, whether this was family, business, friendship, or even just an intimate relationship, it happens.
No, it was supposed to be
that you start
business.
getting scary
This
letters
was
and
supposed
dick
to be a
lawyers and
business
letterhead,
relationship.
scary emails, And then you also face the unattractive prospect.
And
of
I
having to pay your
was
own attorney.
not
The legal
down to
profession gets
be
make
in
money
my
on both
current
sides of this
mentally
transaction.
abusive
You
relationship
need that to
anymore.
defend you from this nonsense,
And this
right?
this was
If you
supposed to
even
be
make a
better.
passing suggestion,
I feel
to a
much
narcissist,
better,
oh, you're
obviously.
sitting there 5 years ago saying, "Hey, someday we should do a business together," while you're drinking a beer with them, and then you go out on your own and maybe start an unrelated business years later, nothing to do with the conversation. They may still threaten you. If
I
your
would not
family
doubt it.
gifted you money to get a car and you start becoming more authentic, more in yourself, they will describe it as a loan and expect payback with an extortionate interest rate.
Yep.
If a narcissistic person once lived in your house and they weren't on the
I
title,
thought
maybe
I
they
was
painted
getting
it
my license in a car.
and you weren't married, they will still expect a stake in the property if the relationship ends. Usually a lot of these frivolous lawsuits they file go nowhere because they don't have the documentation or they don't have a case.
Yeah,
But it can make your life miserable as you wait for it to all get sorted out, and you're still going to be out the legal fees. Healing is an act of defiance when it comes to narcissistic abuse. It shouldn't be. But when it comes to finding your authentic self and voice, separate from the narcissistic relationship and exerting you, even in the simplest way, sadly, with most narcissistic folks, their vengeance is swift. Thanks again.
Yep. Like, I was gone. I was fucking gone. I was out of this shithole. And you sucked me back in. Literally.
Hi
Just-
everyone, it's Dr. Romani. Welcome
just
back
shove
to
it
this
in my
YouTube channel
face
on
that-
narcissism.
I got nothing.
And I have good news. I have a new podcast out I'd love for you to listen to. It's called Navigating Narcissism. You can listen to it anywhere you listen to your podcast. Please subscribe to it, and I really hope you enjoy it. Information on it is in the video notes. Very different than this YouTube channel. A real chance to sort
What
of
am I
talk
supposed to
to
do?
really interesting kind of real world survivor stories. So please listen to that too. Well, let's go back to this because
No, eventually you
Here's a
give up
question for
so
you.
much shit.
what's more challenging? A relationship with a narcissistic person or with a psychopathic person?
I
Drop
fucking
your answers in the comments. I'm real
I
curious
don't
to hear
even
what you have to
know.
say. So, some
I
of you
do
may have
know
been
one
both
of
of
the
these,
first
some only
things that
one.
they do
But if
when
you've
you
been to,
get
if you've been to
rated
both, you really are going to have the answer.
is they
But
a
I'll get
lot
to-
of
I'll get
times
to that
take
too,
out
but let's
a
just
part of
start
the
with
ceiling.
basics on narcissistic
If they
relationships
think there's
and
something in the
psychopathic
ceiling.
relationships. Both are pretty awful. So we're really talking about gradations of terrible, difficult, and painful. There's really no good version of these. Both kinds of relationships are messed up. Both sets of relationships are relationships characterized by manipulation, devaluation, confusion, contempt, gaslighting, isolation, fear, grief, all bad things. The only way I can say it is the psychopathic relationships are so treacherous, so devious, so terrifying
Psychopath.
that you start to feel like you're living in like a Lifetime movie
Yeah.
and not in a
Yeah.
good way.
That's it. That's
Once
it. That's it.
everything that happens in the relationship all comes to light.
Yes.
These relationships are so perverse that a person in the relationship really does feel like they have been in something otherworldly.
Yeah.
Psychopathic relationships can be
No, I feel like I live on a
characterized
different
by
planet. Like I feel like I'm fucking losing it.
parasitic behavior or running a real sort of financial hustle on you, and they tell big ass lies, like big lies. For example, they'll lie about having ever been married before or having other kids, or they lie about the job they have or having a job or how much they make or where they are from, how they spend their time.
Mm-hmm.
They may have been using false identities,
Yep.
aliases, and even have criminal histories you aren't aware of.
That's what I'm starting to
Psychopathic
wonder.
individuals
That's what I'm
are
starting to think.
Really, really good at lying. Way
Yes.
better at lies than narcissists are. at lying.
Yes.
The shame makes the narcissist a little twitchy when they try to lie. The psychopathic folks are so cold, so calculating, so cunning that they would sell your grandmother's
Yep.
wedding ring for bail money
Yep.
while your grandmother is still alive. It's
I'm not
scary.
kidding.
And
I
the
actually
social
think that's what's
costs
happening.
They're actually quite high in terms of criminality and recidivism and all of that. Once you share your story about the relationship, you might get a lot of oh wows, and people will see it and even get it because it's so chilling. 'Cause it
No,
almost feels like a movie.
it's like a
You really
movie.
feel like
It's
you
like I'm
went to the
in a
ringer,
fucking horror
terrified,
movie.
stunned by how you got played. But ultimately, it all slowly adds up.
I know I'm
And many
gullible.
survivors of psychopathic
I'm well aware of the bad
relationships
shit of
angry
character.
with themselves because
But
they
this is
feel
like a whole
foolish
other
for sort of
level,
being
like-
played. You are not foolish. You were played by a professional deceiver. It's just what they do. All of us would be vulnerable. Now, the narcissistic relationship, in contrast to the psychopathic relationship, is actually
Why
a
me?
bit more complicated. Narcissists, in some ways, are kind of like psychopath wannabes because they can't quite get the lying down right, and all that insecurity and the shame and the anxiety stop them. For the narcissist, the grandiosity is a defense. For the psychopath, they kind of believe their own hype, so it's a more
Yeah.
consistent
Oh god.
grandiosity.
Oh god.
And it's basically a don't mess with me or I'll crush you.
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
what it
grandiosity.
is. That's what this is.
The
That's exactly what this is.
narcissists sort of say a line like that, like I'll crush you, and they're sort of the equivalent of a little.
I was
kid
gone
playing
and out. I was
villain
done. I was
costume.
out. I was not
For the psychopaths,
living here, and
they
I
will crush you.
was out.
And the villain costume is actually their real clothes. Now, with the psychopathic,
And then everything's
individuals,
sort of
the
fucking
charm and the charisma are even more shallow than it is for the narcissists, if you can believe that.
What's
For
Chucky?
psychopaths, the charm and
What's
charisma
up,
are
Popo?
just a way of getting their grift and their shakedown on, a way to get a foot into the door. For the narcissistic person, the charm and charisma are once again a way for them to cover up their insecurities and to get validation and attention, which they desperately need. Psychopaths aren't really looking for validation. They really don't care what any of us think of them. They want power, dominance, and complete control. Narcissistic people want those things too, but in the service of their own sort of sense of kind of almost a powerlessness or a striving to be something more. The psychopaths don't have that neurotic underbelly. So that's going to make these very different kinds of relationships.
Okay.
So when you're in a relationship with a narcissistic person, there are some normal days, sometimes even normal weeks or months.
Yeah.
The narcissistic person may actually even be a decent parent at times. They might be a little sweet, warm, friendly. With the psychopath, maybe for a minute. But there's a real discomfort that psychopathic people have at these warm types of interacting. And in terms of the parenting, if they have children, and many psychopaths do have children, it may be more of a power grab, a way to, I don't know, assert masculinity or some other culturally
Fucked
valued
up.
quality, a way to build a legacy or a dynasty.
Ah.
And sort of there's, in essence, they're sort of breeding their own soldiers to take over their stuff because they don't trust anybody else. Having children may be a way for them to isolate someone. It may be unintended, and in unintended cases, they'll probably abandon the mother and the child. Some narcissistic people actually do welcome parenthood, though they definitely don't have the patience for it. They may like the validation they get from a worshiping little child. They may like the identity or the sort of social status they get from it. But many of you out there co-parenting with narcissistic people will begrudgingly know that, yeah, sometimes your kids do have fun with their other parent, even if the discipline and food choices aren't on point. The psychopath will not be a Disneyland parent. They can't be bothered. Lots of narcissists can be really good Disneyland parents. Psychopaths start to become interested in their children, if they have them, when they are useful to them.
Oh my
So
god.
That starts around late adolescence and early adulthood. So that's where psychopaths may actually waft back into their children's lives at that point. So the confusion in the narcissistic relationship comes from the mashup of the good days and the bad days. The vacillating between the stuff that works and the stuff that hurts. There's a greater long-term likelihood of getting stuck into a cycle of self-blame with a narcissistic person because of the good days, that trauma bonded back and forth between good and bad. In a psychopathic relationship, it becomes a day-over-day sense of fear, of menace, of perhaps seeing this person function really well at work or in politics or other public arenas, but really other than for the first minute of the relationship. They may then go on to become rather cold and clipped in any of their interpersonal relationships. And the only kind of node of connection we kind of have in an intimate relationship with a psychopath is but degrading or disconnected from emotion. Psychopathic relationships are unsettling and they're scary. Some people will say it feels as though I was living with a cold stranger, or the sort of confusing backstory and the stories didn't always track. And some people say I actually was scared to go digging any deeper.
Yeah.
People will sometimes say that the thing
Yeah.
that attracted them to a psychopathic person wasn't just the superficial charm, but their take-chargedness, the sense that the psychopathic person knew exactly what they wanted, and even the sense of power that they inhabited and possessed. Narcissistic relationships
I just wanted my own
are
business.
heartbreaking and disappointing.
I just
Hopes
wanted a
up and
restaurant.
hopes down. It's a different kind of pain in the narcissistic versus the psychopathic relationship. In both cases, you're manipulated, gaslighted, and confused. Narcissistic relationships
I
get
thought that
really
once I got my
bad when the
restaurant.
narcissistic person is triggered, whether by shame or failure or disappointment. Psychopathic
I thought
relationships
Cameron
get
would
bad when they are
want to get
questioned in
involved.
any way. Psychopathic people do not like being questioned, and when their false self, which they've so carefully curated, is taken apart, they don't like anything or any line of questioning that shows the cracks in it. It's less about failure for them than being questioned, and at that point, you might see their impulsive, even dangerous rage. Sadly,
Yeah.
where the road meets on the two of these
Got in my face like he was gonna fight me.
are the malignant narcissists, the cold, callous, hostile, impulsive, malevolent, just slightly insecure folks. These relationships are still more cold than not. Very few of the good days, and lots of fear, control, and menace, but not as much of that cool confidence that we tend to see in a psychopathic person. When it comes to danger and risk, the psychopathic relationships are definitely worse. There's a greater likelihood of menace, threat, and violence, and the lack of remorse means that they simply eradicate someone who may get in the way of their power grab and their well-honed facade. The impulsivity we see in narcissism means that there could be a quick, snappy rage in response to something they don't like. Narcissistic people, as we know, we definitely do see aggression and violence in these relationships. Maybe a little less calculated and cold. You might be able to clearly witness the escalation. With the narcissistic relationships, the day-to-day will be a messy, unsatisfying roller coaster. With malignant narcissists, there may be more likelihood of harm, danger, and physical and financial risk, but otherwise it's just a mess. And there's still going to be fear, but maybe not as much as we might see in a psychopathic relationship. I know many people have some confusion. They might say, what kind of relationship am I in? Is this person psychopathic? Are they narcissistic? Psychopathy is much, much more rare. I hope this video clarifies a little of this on the basis of the kinds of challenges and experiences you've had in a relationship. And the final piece is, what about when it's time to get out? Clearly, a psychopathic relationship may often represent more danger. Again, that lack of remorse and the calculatedness and the likelihood and the history of impulsivity.
He does not care if I
high-risk
fucking
behavior.
get hurt.
A safety plan is often essential, and working with the domestic violence program may be necessary. I'll have those resources in the video notes. These are people who don't like losing power or being out of control. And even if they're not violent, it may get horribly punitive around divorce, custody, finances, and a sense of menace always hanging out there. A lifetime spent looking over your shoulder and a greater likelihood of post-separation abuse. With narcissistic relationships, it can be all over the map. If you're the one leaving, it'll never go smoothly because they don't like abandonment. They don't like losing. With the malignant narcissistic folks, we may see more of the higher risk situations. With the other types of narcissism, it's more flying monkey, smear campaign, victimized rants on
Not
social media.
just like
kind of
me
stuff.
being
The divorces
mean
are
and
still
calling
messy
somebody
as hell.
names. Like, I think he's
Ego
actually a
injury
psychopath.
makes them vindictive. And while both psychopathic and narcissistic individuals are vindictive and impulsively vindictive, that pattern could end up manifesting as slightly more dangerous in a psychopathic individual. Relationally, I do think that while there's a
No,
lot
like,
of
I
overlap,
was
there's a real
fucking
difference
out of
between the
this
two
league, like-
relationships. And both are awful. It's really not fair to say one is easier or harder than the other. They're just different. So forgive me for the non-committed answer and sort of the trick question, but
And
it's true.
Cameron didn't give a shit.
Which one's more challenging? I'd have to say it's a dead heat. Both are horrific. that good and bad vacillation can mean the
Those
narcissistic
were my
relationships
options.
get a lot more
A
confusing.
narcissist or
The
a
fear and
psychopath.
the menace means that the psychopathic relationships
I
are
did
more
not
scary.
realize that one
So
was
people get
psychopath.
stuck for somewhat different reasons, and the thought process that's happening in the relationship can be quite different. That's like I said, both groups get stuck, but the experience is different. Getting out feels different,
Okay.
and the outcomes can be quite different too. Hope that clarifies it. Thanks.
Well, unfortunately, it does. Yes, it's pretty fucking clear. I literally upgraded from a narcissist relationship to a psychopath relationship. So that is really, really great. He's gonna kill me. I'm actually afraid that I might die. And not even by my own hand. I always thought it would be that would take me out. Like, hot. I know.
Our friends over at the
Ah!
bit of a notable tweet.
Stop.
Some technology
Your
that they've
fucking
developed
voice
that we
is
want to
like
cue you in on or
fucking
clue you in
ear
on. That's the
piercing.
expression. Go ahead and put this up on the screen. The FBI Child ID app, the first mobile application created by the Bureau, provides a convenient place to electronically store photos and other vital information
Excuse
about your
me?
children so that it's literally right at hand if you need it, Sagar.
Ew!
This elicited many responses, many people advising don't download an app of any sort that
From
cops
the
made,
feds.
that the feds made, and certainly don't enter your children's vital
Ew,
information
fuck.
into that Fed-made app. The other thing that was funny is people pointed out, like,
Why?
oh, finally a way to store photos right on your phone.
Right.
Like, what?
We already have that. We're
I-
fine.
So they really nailed both the like dystopian federal government surveillance state aspect and also the like totally irrelevant 1990s technology aspect. So they did it all with this one.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, as somebody says, I don't know who needs to hear this. Please don't give your children's personal info to the effing feds that actively have covered up for pedophiles. Talking
Yeah.
about Maxwell,
Mhm.
Jeffrey Epstein, Larry Nasser. Now, you know, Michaela Maroney and Simone Biles are actually suing them for over $1 billion, and I hope they win. We're going to cover that if there's any major developments that are in the case. So, yeah, look, I mean, there's no reason
You know,
you should trust these people.
Definitely
Also, why is
do
this
not
iOS
do
like
that.
15 years old?
Like,
You know, like it's
The
it
images,
literally
though.
looks like iPhone 1. What's happening? Like, what do you do? There's still a button on that iPhone. Like, what year is it? I don't understand what's happening. Look,
there's still
at the
a
very basic level,
button.
It just shows you. This is sad, but
Why
honestly,
would
I
we
don't
want
trust
our
it.
technology to have buttons?
What kind of world is that? You have to choose between that.
Nonsense.
And then, yeah,
There's no one to trust.
even if it's in your iCloud, you basically have to make peace with the fact that it could get hacked. And that's just one of those things that
Yeah.
people have made peace with over the years. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but you know, it's certainly.
I mean that's one of the things that we started thinking through with the Roe versus Wade decision
Yeah.
too, is all that the number one period tracker app, just go ahead and volunteer. We don't even need a warrant. We'll just turn over your data, no problem. If the cops ask for it, sure, we'll do that. So yeah, but you don't need to cut out the middleman and just give it straight to the feds. At least make them work for it a little bit.
That's right.
Um,
Make them ask for a warrant.
there was I did click through and read their little like synopsis of it, and it is funny because at the bottom they added this. I wonder if this was added after the fact, after the reaction to this. They said an important note: the FBI is not collecting or storing any photos or information that you enter in the app. All data resides solely on your mobile device unless you need to send it to authorities. Please read your mobile provider's terms of service, blah, blah, blah. Because, you know, very trustworthy in these regards of not overreaching and being straightforward with the public about what sort of data they're collecting and how they're using
That's
it.
gonna be a no for me.
Very confidence inspiring.
We'll see you guys later.
See y'all. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're.
Oh my god. Yeah, but didn't he die? The guy from with the. Oh, maybe it's a different one.
It happened on the site of a 46-story building at 160 Front Street, just west of the Fairmont Royal York Hotel. The construction worker had his hand caught in the tagline, and while hooking up a heavy load, was pulled from the 5th floor all the way up to the 30th before the operator noticed.
Oh my God! Hang on!
The video shows him hanging on by just his hands, hundreds of feet in the air, and as he's being lowered, there's a big load hanging above him.
Over there, like somebody tell him to stop now before he gets crushed by this. Stop!
That worker managed to avoid any serious injuries, just a broken wrist, and an investigation into this incident is ongoing. Zach Bodenstein, City News.
Oh, you poor fucking guy. That's so stupid.
You heard him say it. Then right now, powerful men shaking in their boots. It's not just Epstein, Maxwell, and the victims who know the names of the men who might be on that list. Epstein's former friends and business associates also have a pretty good idea. Earlier, I had the chance to speak with Christina Oxenberg. She's a former acquaintance of Epstein and Maxwell and a second cousin of Prince Andrew. She's also the author of the book Trash, Encounters with Ghislaine Maxwell. It was really a wild conversation.
That's fucking right.
Here's
fucking
some of what
trash.
she told me in this exclusive interview.
What female does this to another woman? Like, how do you do that to another woman? Like,
well, I think we know the names. I think the names have been bandied around from the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessary for me to actually say them. We do know we know who they are. They are former presidents. They are
the royal fucking family.
Yeah. Who lives in Boston. We know the names. They're on the flight logs.
No, but they're walking free.
They're in the little black book. They're the ones who've been surrounding this whole story we know who they are.
The richest of the rich.
However, are they more responsible than Ghislaine?
This is what I think is happening here.
Gray area, you know.
I think this is like some other level Jeffrey Epstein type shit.
But even if they're not more responsible, if they were still a participant at times
something around here is not
with some of
fucking
these
right.
girls,
That's for fucking sure.
Shouldn't their names be made public?
Yes.
Okay, well, the answer, of course, is yes.
They should be going to jail.
Everything should be transparent, and all bad people should be punished. I'm all for it. This is, sex rings have gone on forever. This is not new. It's nothing to do with privilege and money. It's happened in every iteration. It's happened through all the years humans have been on the planet, probably. And this particular group was to satisfy Jeffrey's proclivity for underage girls, and that's the problem with the whole thing.
Yeah,
if Jeffrey had just wanted beautiful young ladies, there's no problem. But he liked children. So that's the conundrum. Yeah. And when you talk about the other men who were involved, and obviously we know their names. I've read the flight logs. I'm sure you have too. Now, since 1993, I knew that she and Jeffrey used a private plane because that was another instance where I spent 3 months with them, if you can believe it. And they were on the plane every weekend. So I knew about the plane. And in 97, in this crazy meeting, she says to me, sorry, my tenses are always wrong. She says to me, the plane is hooked up with audio and video. And we have everyone on tape. Her words. I'm not asking a thing. Why is she eliciting things that in years to come would be massively incriminating? So no, I didn't think to ask, well, who do you mean by everyone? When she said we have everyone on tape, I figured she meant anyone who wouldn't want to be on tape.
Where do you think all those tapes are now?
I think for one thing, there's certainly more than one copy of anything. I think that since those were the days of videotapes, since 97, they must have also been updated in all of the techno, changes that have happened, right? So those would have been done, and there's definitely more than one. There would obviously have been more than one copy, and she said it. Her clear intention was, we have the upper hand. We have the compromise.
Now that she's been sentenced and she's on her way to permanent stay in federal prison for 20 years, do you think she's going to start naming names? Do you think she's going to tell people where those tapes
if she
are?
wants to live,
she's
she's not.
I think all the deals have already been made.
I think so too.
I don't know anything. And this is just my hunch. I think the deals have been made
I agree
already, and that's why she's alive.
Yep.
Because Jeffrey died on August 10th in the morning. On August 9th, which was a Friday, his lawyer came out on the steps of the courthouse, I suppose, and said, Jeffrey's going to start naming names. And he was dead in the morning.
I mean, crazy. Do you think she's at risk right now? Do you think her safety?
No, I don't, because
no, I think as long as she keeps
she
her
may
mouth
want to
shut.
self-harm. That I cannot speak for, but
I don't
no,
think
I
so.
think the deals
I
have
think
already been made,
as a
and she
female, if
is,
you could do this kind of shit to
being
another female,
rewarded.
I don't think that you're the kind of person
Of the
who
20
would
years
take your own
that
life.
you
Personally,
mentioned for her sentence,
like rich people
already
who are
2
gonna
have
stare
been
at, like, I don't
taken
think
off
she killed themselves
because of
because
time served.
billionaires
So
do
we're now
not off
down to-
themselves.
It's
Not
being
unless they're gonna
whittled
lose
down.
their fortune.
So she's going to be transferred to the UK to
You
complete
think
her
that will really happen?
100%.
Yep.
I think that. And if
Where she'll be
I'm
protected.
wrong, I'll eat all sorts of hats.
No,
But I do believe
she
that
said
that
to the
will
UK
happen,
she's
and
gonna be
that once
protected.
she's
As long as
there,
she shouldn't say anything about
she'll
Andrew.
just sail out the back door.
I read this stuff and my jaw drops. I mean, you understand this world much better than me.
I
Obviously.
know, but she
Is there
doesn't.
just
We
that
don't
many
understand this
powerful
world.
people
Nobody
behind the scenes
understands this.
doing
You
secret
should
things
not
like
understand.
looking out for her? I mean, what is going on?
Well, when you
The world.
say,
This is how the world
why
works.
isn't she out the list?
You think the Royal
Why
Empire
was
is
she
going to give
not
up their
on
power?
the same
No.
team? They're helping her.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And
Like, give me a
don't forget
fucking
to click the
break.
red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven.
Like, seriously, give me a fucking break. The Royal Empire isn't just going to give up their power. The Royal Empire is still the Royal Empire. We are still very much just like worker ants or like worker bees in a hive. Like, if you don't fucking add to the hive, well, shit. Like, what are you good for? And if you go against Queen Bee, like, are you serious? For what?
Bleach, one of the top organizers.
Yo, she's not one of the top organizers. Like,
For weeks back in February, will remain in jail after a justice of the peace says
for what?
Bleach
Mischief?
breached the condition of her original release. CTV senior political correspondent Glenn McGregor is joining me now from outside the courthouse in
Unfucking-believable,
Ottawa
man.
with this breaking news. Glenn, what are we hearing on this?
Unreal. Like, honestly.
Yeah, we just heard, Todd, from Tamara Leach's criminal defense lawyer, a guy named Lawrence Greenspon, who came out of the courtroom and said his client, Tamara Leach, is disappointed by this decision. And Mr. Greenspon promised to bring an application immediately as soon as possible.
This is an abomination. This is just so messed up.
Appeal of today's decision by a higher court. And what happened in court just about half an hour ago?
Yeah, she turned around, put her hands behind her back.
Tamara Leach must remain in custody. If all the bouncing ball.
If you're gonna arrest me, arrest me. Good for you, lady.
She's been through since her arrest.
This
at
is
the end
fucked
of the
up, man.
Convoy, back
And then
in
you tried to
February.
say that she
was
wasn't a
initially
First Nations
denied
people
bail.
and that her
She
tax
appealed
card
that decision,
was fake.
Was released in March. Eventually
Why
returned
would she
to
come out and
Medicine
do this
Hat,
if
where
she's
she had-
trying to
was able
fake?
to live with certain bail conditions. One of those conditions was that she not have contact with about 10 other people who were also involved in the organization of the occupation of Ottawa, that paralyzed the city for over 3 weeks. But she was allowed to go attend
Oh my
something
God.
called the
You guys
Freedom
remember the
Awards,
student
a
protest?
gala in Toronto. put
You know how
on by
bullshit
an
those were?
organization that advocates against COVID mandates, and to accept that award. But while she was there, she posed for a photograph with one of the organizers, a fellow named Tom Marazzo, actually sat at his table, according to.
Oh wow, what a
And was also seen in
fucking
a
monster.
Facebook video.
Like, what a terrible
maybe
human.
Speaking to him or whispering something to
Oh,
him in
whispering.
his ear after she gave her acceptance speech. The Justice of the Peace.
What a criminal,
ruling on the bail
man.
Decision today.
Going
was
to
not
a
impressed by that,
dinner.
said she was essentially flaunting the conditions and says she is now she was free to express her own freedom.
Is she a criminal though? Is what she's doing is this crime? Is everyone here going to jail?
She'll be held indefinitely.
Unreal, unfucking believable, man.
Sometime months,
Unfucking
possibly
believable.
months into the future, unless her lawyer can successfully convince a higher court, Todd, that decision made today should be set aside.
And Glenn, we can
Unfucking
see
believable.
behind you and around you lots of supporters out there for Tamara Leach as well.
So, what was the verdict on her status as a First
She's
Nation?
probably the most visible person,
Curious.
and she is kind of a hero to the people who came to Ottawa.
She's a
and,
huge
they
fucking
continue to
hero.
come out,
Fucking
whenever
stand
she
your
makes a
fucking
public
ground.
appearance.
At
There's
least
a group
one
of
person has the
dozens of
balls to
people,
fucking
actually both
follow
in the
through.
courtroom and out here in front of the courthouse. They were
I am
expecting a different story. They were expecting her to be released, and they wanted to
sick
have
of
kind
people
a
saying
welcome,
so much.
party to greet
And
her
then
when
as
she came
soon
out
as
the
push
courtroom
comes to
doors,
shove,
just over
they
my shoulder.
flip or they'll
That
roll
worse than
over.
that, mood, turned kind of dark amongst these people. They were chanting. A lot of them were angry. I heard some people actually sobbing in the courthouse gallery
Yeah, that's
when the decision
fucked.
came down. She is that important to this so-called freedom movement.
Yeah, because
she
it's
really was one of the driving forces,
someone who stands their
early January,
ground.
one of the people who got the movement going, and of course drove with that convoy from Western Canada all the way to Ottawa and was seen on the streets.
Like,
every
is
day
she a
at all the
dangerous
press
criminal?
conferences. So she
Like,
is kind
I
of
just
a hero of the freedom convoy to
no.
some people,
She should
and
be
a lot of
like
disappointment.
a hero to many people. That lady is really, really, really dope. Like, is she a criminal? Is she dangerous? Like, why would she be in prison? Because she breached her probation? Mischief? She went to a dinner party for like a foundation, like an event. Like, are you like, she sat at a table and she spoke to a guy. Like, after like a speech, she went and like went down and hugged him, gave him like a back, like from the hug from the back. I mean, I'm dyslexic. Like, honestly, like, what is she doing that is so criminal? I just don't understand why this woman's still in jail. And I would like to also maybe know the verdict on her status. They were challenging that she's faking or lying about her Indian status card. I would just like to know what happened to that. Curious. Like, why would she be so public if you're faking being a First Nations person? Why would you be publicly speaking? As if people wouldn't figure it out. So stupid, man. I just don't like. The lady just turned around and was like, okay, then I guess arrest me because I'm not gonna stop. Like, and she's right. She should not stop. But like, to keep her in jail is just like disgusting. Like, just fucking pathetic. Just so sad and pathetic. Very transparent, honestly. There's your fucking transparency. This is a land of pussies. This is a land of people who talk shit, act like they're super fucking tough and hard, and then as soon as someone bigger comes in the room, they shut right the fuck up. Like, unfucking believable.
Is yours been in your family for a while? Do you come from generations of the same?
No, not at all. I wasn't very good at school, so I went up through the ranks of dairy farming at age 16 and ended up working for the co-op farms in Shropshire, and gradually worked my way through the ranks until I was made redundant in 2004. So we decided to go out and buy our own.
What? What is this?
That the members of Number 2 fought so bravely to protect. My dear friends, yes, we have more road to travel, but make no mistake, we will keep walking that road together until we get this right. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you, Minister Anand. Thank you for your leadership
I don't. I'm
and
sorry.
your dedication to change.
I can't.
last-
I can't. I honestly can't. Really? Oh my god, I did not know she's from Montreal.
This I was tarnished by this event, and it was just like a roller coaster of emotions.
Montreal swimmer Mary Sophie Harvey says she was drugged on the final day of the FINA World Aquatics Championships in Hungary on June 25th. She shared on Instagram that she suffered a sprained rib and a concussion after attending a party where the drugging happened. She had just earned a bronze medal in the women's 4x200 meter freestyle relay.
It was actually my first big international medal that I got there, and I just remember opening the box back home, and I didn't feel like it belonged to me. I didn't feel like the body I was in belonged to me.
There's a 4 to 6 hour window where she has no recollection of what happened, just that she woke up with the Canadian team manager and doctor by her bedside.
And I kept trying to remember things, but I couldn't, and I still can't. I think it's just the scary parts are the what ifs, because it's unknown for me.
From what she does remember, she says she knew something wasn't right.
Even though I was telling people, some of them were like, you probably just drank too much. Maybe next time you'll think about this and you'll be more careful. And I was in control the whole time until I can't tell anything. I can't recall anything. And I felt shame because I started to believe what everyone was saying.
She posted photos of the bruises left on her body.
The next morning, I went to training and I kind of broke down a little bit, and I was really scared because seeing the bruises made me feel like maybe something happened, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
I called the line that is supposed to help victims in these type of situation, and that's when I got struck by the lack of resources we have.
Yeah.
Now she's trying to raise awareness.
In my head before that, I was thinking, oh, it can't happen to me. It doesn't happen that often. And I'm with friends, so I'm safe. But sadly, it does happen.
It does.
A lot.
It really
Sweeney
does.
Canada
That's
says
why,
an
like, I
independent
could not believe the
investigation was
first time when
launched
it
to
was
figure
Dustin's
out what
friends, and
happened.
all the
I
girls
was
broke off from each other and went in different
I
directions.
think it's something
And like some of
we
the girls
need to
didn't even
shed
like they don't
lights
even know where
on.
their friend
Harvey
went,
says she's taking
and they
it
were
day
going to
by
go
day
home.
and coping through sharing her story.
They can
And
help
they're like,
people,
oh,
but
that's
also
just like
helping
how
me
she
see
is,
that,
and she just like
we
goes
got
and
a
hooks
lot
up with
of
some
this,
guy or whatever, and we just let her. I was like, you guys are the
In
worst
Montreal,
friends
Elisa
ever.
Bertucci, City News.
How do you go out downtown with a bunch of girls and like you just left one of your girlfriends to go home with a stranger while she was fucking drunk? Are you fucking stupid? Like, do you even care about your friend? Like, you could never see her again. Like, we would go to the bathroom together. Like, we would all, like, if we go downtown together, we all go home together. Like, we don't leave one of our girlfriends downtown. Even if she wants to go, like, to hook up with a guy, go hook up with him. We'll be waiting outside when you're done. Like, we all go home together. We go to the bathroom together. We go get drinks together. We go outside to smoke together. Like, we all go together. We never let one of the girls just fuck off. Like, that's crazy to me. Cannot believe, like, fucking, like, cannot believe girls are so dumb. Like, why would you do, like, how do you even call that someone who's your friend? Like, you can never see your friend again. It's very possible that you will not see your friend again. That's like, who was that girl who died? Nikki Pizzella was like her best friend. Anyway, they got in a car with go figure, Sean Corbier, another Sean, and he was drinking and driving, and then they were going down St. Francis, speeding down St. Francis, and the car didn't turn or it drifted, and if the tree wasn't there, they would have went right into the water. Instead, the engine landed on Nikki Pizzella's pelvis. They had to get her out with the jaws of life. She had to get her part of her pelvis reconstructed, and she had to relearn how to walk. He had a broken arm, but the girl that she was with, like a year later or something, they were at the train bridge drinking. She had to go pee, so she went under the bridge to go to the bathroom, and no one went with her, and she slipped and hit her head on a rock and ended up dying. Girl was like fucking had just graduated. I think she wasn't even 18 yet or something, or she had just turned 18. It's a fucking shame, man. Over something so stupid. Same with Catherine. That was just like another fucking bunch of fuck ups. John found them in the fucking Billings field drinking. If John had done his job as a security guard, he would have done his job and taken them in, and her parents would have gone and picked her up. Instead, he said, get out of here. You kids and your alcohol, whatever. Like, 16-year-olds should not be out drinking in parks and shit. I'm sorry. Like, I get, like, drinking for your prom and all that, but, like, if you're, like, a authority figure, like, he was a security guard, and he used to, after school, go to the Couche-Tard and fucking pick up girls and bring them back to his apartment. Guy's a fucking sick fuck, man. If he had actually done his job that day, that he saw them drinking, it was Billings Idol. And it was her stupid fucking friends. Two of her stupid friends that ran across the street at the light, and they were standing at the median, and they were saying, come, come, come. And she like was looking, and she wasn't sure if she should cross. My mom knew she was gonna get hit. She fucking knew it was gonna happen. I looked at my mom. I saw my mom staring at Catherine. I looked at Catherine, and I looked back at my mom, and then I just saw my mom's face change, and I could hear the thump. And when I turned around and looked back, it was like her body just like fell from the sky like a fucking rag doll. You could literally smell blood in the air. And my mom was the only one on the ground with that girl. She's the only fucking one. Seeing my mom on the ground with a girl who's choking on her own blood, having people fucking like circle around her, standing there looking down at her, like it was just like a fucked up thing. Her fucking kneecap was like shattered on the ground. It was like under her, and my mom fucking pulled her leg out from under her back. And she noticed that like I was behind her, and she turned around, looked at me, and she was like, "Get back in the car, get back in the car." And as I was walking back, I just heard some lady say, "Don't touch her. Like, don't move her." And my mom, I remember, like, as I was walking back in the car, I heard her say, "Do you want to get down here?" And the lady just didn't say anything. And it was because my mom was trying to turn her on her side because she was choking on her own blood. And the 40 that was in her jacket was, like, crushed into her lungs. And I remember sitting in the car watching my mom on the ground, and then the cop showed up, and she was a black lady cop, and she got out of the car, and she walked up to my mom and looked at my mom and then walked away. To go make sure that the suspect didn't try to flee. I wasn't even speeding. Didn't go through a red light. She just ran in front of his fucking car. Probably fucking ruined his life. Next day at school, kids made up a rumor that my mom was the one that hit her. She brought us to IGA to get snacks because me and Lorianne Fields were having a sleepover. Caitlin came home crying. I think it was like 3 days that they had her in an induced coma. And they said they tried to wake her up. And when they tried to wake her up, she just immediately started full-on seizure, and she had permanent brain damage. She would have never walked again, like, even if she did ever come out of it. It's not a fucking way to live, that's for sure. Can't imagine making that decision. Pulling the plug on your fucking kid. Like, at what point do you just, like, say... It's not giving up, it's just doing the right thing. It's the humane thing to do. It's just probably like you always fucking live with that, like, what if I just waited it out a bit? Maybe her brain would have fixed itself. I don't know. I remember we looked for her grave for a really long time. We were trying to figure out where she was buried, and it just so happened that I went to go see my Nana's new stone that they put in. Because they had to add some grandkids' names to it or some shit. And I was just kind of like walking through the graveyard. And I just saw a ladybug. A stuffed ladybug. And that was Catherine's fucking gravestone. I was like, oh my god, and it's Catherine. This is where she's buried. Like, only a couple rows down from my Nana. Apparently her mom is all fucked up now too. Apparently, like, her mom just like never really recovered. Like, she talks about her daughter as if she's still alive and stuff, and apparently she's got no like teeth left, and she's just like on a different planet. But like, I can't imagine fucking. And that's why I can never do that to my mom. I say that it's because that I spent too much time keeping her alive throughout all her fucking dumb shit, but I know that if anything happened to me, I know that she would not be able to continue his life as it is. Like, I think it's just not enough for women to say I'm for women's rights and I'm a female fighter or whatever. I think just saying that really kind of fucking ruins it. Because honestly, a lot of those women who seem to have to tell everybody how much they're feminists, like, they don't prove it. I don't know. I guess it's because I was one of those girls once where I intentionally would go after girls' boyfriends. Like, if I was friends with a guy and I knew that he got a girlfriend, I would specifically go after that guy because it made me feel better about myself knowing that he would choose me over their new girlfriend. And then I did it to the wrong person. It had to be Rachel. It had to be Rachel, of course. Just the nicest fucking human being. Rachel's just nice to everybody. She's just a ray of sunshine all the time. And fucking Mirad. I don't know, like, for Mirad to actually go out of his way and be like, I'm gonna tell her. I was like, or you could not tell her, because I could tell you definitely I'm not gonna tell her, because now I feel guilty that I know that it's fucking Rachel. Rachel's just always been super nice to me. And he was like, no, Matt, I have to tell her because it's the right thing to do. I was like, fuck, the right thing to do, man. Like, I don't want to deal with crazy women shit. And then one day, Rachel was not very nice to me anymore. And I realized that now Rachel, I think Rachel now knows that it was me. And I very much deserved her to not be nice to me anymore. Like, I like, fuck, oh my god, I kissed that girl's ass so hard. Before, I would have never accepted somebody fucking who literally is just like blatantly not interested in any kind of conversation with me. Like, if I'm like, hey Rachel, she would just give me she'd stare at me and then turn around. I was like, okay, we'll try again maybe next time. And then one day I just like caught her outside. I was like, Rachel, please, can I just say something to you? I just like, I know that I don't deserve you to accept my apology, but I just like, I was just an asshole. Like, I was just insecure about myself and I didn't feel confident about myself. So I felt better, I guess, kind of being chosen over like a new fling. Like, obviously, like a new girlfriend is like fucking, you go through the honeymoon stages and all that shit, but like, I don't know, it made me feel better about myself. But knowing that I did it to someone who was as nice as Rachel, that just made me feel like fucking shit, man. Like a real garbage human being. Like, what if somebody did that to me? There's thousands of guys that you can go after that are single, that you can choose to go like try to hook up with? Why would you choose a girl that you know has a boy that the fucking has a girlfriend? You know they're in a relationship. Why would you do that? I did it because I was an asshole. I was a big jerk. And I did not care about other people's feelings at the time. And then I had somebody do it to me. It's actually something Angela said. Not that it came from Angela. Kind of ruined it, but the fact that Angela was like, listen, I know you and Sean are in a relationship or whatever, and now both you and I have to go to the doctor, and I think that's punishment enough for you. Rather than kicking my ass. I was gone for 8 hours. I literally was there 24/7, and I was gone for a total of 8 hours to do face painting in DDO for Canada Day. I checked his phone. I went on his Facebook. I just had no inkling that he was cheating. Well, I did, because I saw how he lied to his mom. You can call her crying, saying that he's broke and he can't make rent, and she would be like, please, Sean, please promise me you're not going to spend it on drugs or gambling or something stupid. She would beg him. Begged him. He said, yeah, no, Mom, I swear I'm going to spend it on food. Like, I'm so hungry. She would give him $300. And he hung up the phone and started laughing. He was just crying 2 seconds ago, and he hung up the phone, and he started fucking laughing, and goes, what an idiot. Couldn't believe someone would fucking be so heartless to their own mother. Could not believe it. And he immediately called his dealer. Not slot machines, online slot machines. Could not believe it. I just think a Legally Blonde. Girls need to stick together. Because, people make me sick.
Well, for more on... Hi. Craig in Brampton. He is a senior vice president at Rogers. We'll get to what happened in a moment, but I think the first thing that everyone is going to want to know is when will this be fixed?
Okay, so as of now, we do not have an ETA on when the problem will be fixed.
Can you say that it will be today? Like, are we talking hours?
No,
days?
no, that is the whole.
Yeah, so where we are right now, we are we're
Hence
investigating the root cause of the failure that's impacted our customers coast to coast.
It's like they can't even
we're getting
fathom.
very close to understanding the root cause of the failure. And